You know what? I'm gonna tell John Penis. Oh,
Yep. Right as we go live, Zachary. Good job, buddy.
This is 2 weeks now. He's done that.
2 weeks in a row. Okay. Well, Zachary. Good job, buddy. Well,
2 weeks now.
welcome to Phire Radio, Week 7. Week 6 is in the books. I am your somewhat host this week, Luigi Capola, alongside Zach Smola and Mr. Eric Harkins.
I'm back.
We are here to recap your Week 6. Harkins has returned after a little hiatus in the volleyball courts, and Zach is still here. Yeah, he's just always here.
Can't get rid
If
of
you're
that
interested, we do have an Instagram and a Twitter. They are both at Phire Radio. Go follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Let's get into it. Wow, there's no one watching this, huh?
John, regular last name, said that he would send it into the group chat. So maybe we'll get a couple more folks. I don't know.
Whatever.
I'm not even going to watch it because I don't even want to know. Let's just do it.
Let's do it. So, like I said, this is Phire Radio on Week 7. Dude, you added nothing to the doc, and you probably didn't send it to anybody. Don't be mad that we have nobody here.
Me?
Yeah, you mouthkid.
No, well, I was just general. That was like a general.
There's 6 weeks down in the NFL season. We have 12 left to go. We are at a 17-game season, which gives us 18 weeks. We had some great games this past weekend and some really, really interesting ones as well. So there was a whole mix of football this weekend. And I say we get into it. I almost said Luigi and Zach, how you doing? But Zach and Eric, how are we doing today, boys?
Doing really good. Feels like a fine Wednesday. It was a little cold this morning, but hey, that's the weather for you.
Charlie Matthews, thanks for tuning in, brother.
Yeah, I'm doing well. As Zach said, it's actually getting like cold out now, which is it's like not bad when it's a little brisk, but when it's cold today and you got to put like a winter jacket on, it's not fun. So
it's the worst to walk outside and be frozen. I had to preheat my car this morning just to get to work. Ooh. That's the type of cold we were dealing with.
Yeah, I did that too.
7 a.m. on the way into the office. All right. Let's get into it. So we have a lot of injury news this week. Not as many injuries, more so just a lot of news. First off, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is expected to play this week on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers. Tua suffered a gruesome head injury in just week 4 of this year, and unless you've been living under a rock, I think you saw it yourself. Boys, what do we think about Tua playing this Sunday?
I think it's irresponsible for him to be playing this early. You know, we talked last week about another independent person, neurospecialist, saying maybe never again. Maybe that's extreme, but this seems so early to me.
Harkins. Yeah, it's so crazy.
I think it's come under so much scrutiny with how he's been handled so far that I don't think they could really mess this up again. But I have seen I guess it just depends on how bad it was bad, but like I've seen concussions with for example, one player that comes to mind is Crosby in the NHL. Crosby lost at least almost one full season and lost like half of another season just with post-concussion syndrome. So I don't it's always been weird to me how you see guys come back quickly and then other guys just not at all. So I don't know. It definitely is weird, but with how much scrutiny he's already gone under, I feel like they have to be really confident that he's fine, that he can go back in now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if they're putting him out there and they like we keep saying, they've come under such scrutiny this season as early as it is for how they deal with their injuries. But hey, if he's ready to play, he's cleared medically. I don't see what's stopping this team and what's stopping Tua from playing, sadly, even though we might not agree with it. But we can move on from that to a little better news. Quarterback Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys was cleared today to play this weekend. He returned to practice today, and he has plans on returning to play this weekend when they take on the 1-4 Detroit Lions. What do we think, guys? Because, we have the whole situation where Cooper Rush brought them to a 3-1, 4-1 record this season, or a 3-1 record this season as a starter. He did lose, obviously, this Sunday to Philadelphia, but it is Philly, and they kind of just dominated both sides of the ball. So what do we think? What's coming here? What's coming of this situation here?
Well, wait a minute. Oh, yes. We did talk last week about Cooper Rush had to lose eventually. We knew it was coming, we just didn't know when, and it makes sense that it was against the Eagles. I think that has peaked, good for him for winning as many games as he did. Is it going to be Dak's show? He's coming back. I'm glad they gave him another week. They were talking about doing it last Sunday. I think with Dak's injury history, that would have been a huge mistake. Good for the Cowboys. And I think they can stand a really good chance in the Lions. The Lions showed flashes early, but they've been looking really poor since early season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting that they're coming off against the team, like you were saying, of the Lions, who don't have a great record, haven't had a great track record in their past 2 games, but played really well in their first 3. And so it's a real big decision for Dallas. Obviously, we've talked about it over and over. They paid Dak oodles and oodles of money, about $45 million a year to play football for this team. And Cooper Rush is paid an absolute percentile of that much money. It's interesting to see. I think a big thing is going to be how he performs in practice this week, and how he's able to hold on to the football, because that was a big problem last week. Is he was going to be cleared, but he could not hold on to the football. So we'll be monitoring that going forward as Dak Prescott tries to heal up and get back to his self and his starting potential. Before we go any further, let me mention there is a 4th person missing from the stream. If you do not notice, it is Mr. Matt McGrath. He is in Pittsburgh doing work things, some super secret, undercover, underground U.S. government work. We learned all about it this weekend. He gave me his security clearance too, so I plan on walking into a facility soon.
He's going to steal the codes, ladies and gentlemen.
We're stealing the codes. Let's do it. Let's get the codes.
If you hear a rumbling in your neighborhood,
my hands.
It's not an earthquake. It's because Luigi stole the codes.
I stole the freaking codes. All right, let's get back on track a little bit here. Falcons cornerback Casey Hayward was placed on IR after suffering a shoulder injury versus San Francisco. Hayward will miss at a minimum of 4 weeks on the IR. Any thoughts on this, gentlemen?
You want to go first, Art?
I'm sorry. Give me a sec. I was filling in my.
Yeah, no worries. I could get rolling with this one.
Sure.
Casey Hayward has been a staple in the NFL. He's bounced around multiple teams. We've seen him on the Chargers and the Raiders in the past, and now we see him playing for the Falcons across from young stud AJ Terrell. Their secondary has been very weak, but that could be heavily contributed to their poor safety play so far this season. Hayward and Terrell are doing their best to lock it up and really hold down that secondary out there. But we see Casey Hayward come down against an injury after they beat the 49ers this week. It could be very impactful, obviously, as he is their number 2 corner and a very savvy veteran in this league. But based on his play this season, it might be good to get a new face in there. What do we think, gents?
Yeah. Go ahead, Art. No, go ahead.
Simultaneous, yeah.
Yeah.
We love the simultaneous, yeah.
Go ahead.
Baby.
No, I'll be honest. I haven't really watched the Falcons play much this year, so I don't have much to say about it, to be honest with you.
Well,
I think Zach has the same. We don't have to talk about this injury too in depth.
What I was going to say is they have
many
a better
more to get to.
record than the Denver Broncos.
They do have a better record than the Denver Broncos. The Falcons are currently sitting at 3-3, which, just so you all know, is the same record as my 49ers, Eric's Patriots.
Same record as a lot of teams. The
and
Buccaneers,
a lot of teams in this
the
NFL.
Bengals, Packers,
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Some teams you wouldn't expect to be 3-3 nonetheless. But we can move on to this next one, which maybe we'll get the boys talking a little bit more. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson is considered day-to-day with a hamstring injury that's potentially serious. I'll go to you, Zach, first, our Broncos insider over here.
Hello, everybody. I'm the Broncos insider, Zach, and I hate Russell Wilson currently. It's more of like one of those things that happen where it's a short-term hate. I also hate the Denver Broncos organization for only having 2 quarterbacks on the roster, because if he's day-to-day and we don't play him, that means we're stuck with good old Brett Rypien. That's right. If you don't know that name, that's good, because he stinks, and we shouldn't be playing him. Okay, so Russell Wilson's day-to-day. Is that a problem? Yes. Has he been playing good? No. Is that going to change anything for our wins? Probably not. We can only score 10 goddamn points a game, so what does it matter anyway?
It's actually 11, bud. Give
11
yourself
points a
little
game.
bump. It's 11.
One more point. That's a 10% boost. So yeah, that's pretty big.
It is a 10% boost. It is. Obviously, excuse me. Obviously, the Broncos have been relatively upsetting this season. I mean, Zach watches it firsthand every Sunday, or typically Monday and Thursday with these primetime Broncos. Who knows? NFL really thought Russell Wilson was going to make an impact, but Luigi was right all along. He's not going to do jack with a bad roster and a bad coach. I mean, it's getting time where Zach, what are you thinking with Hackett? What do you think his future is looking like right now?
Is the seat warm?
Is the seat warm?
Oh yeah.
I think the seat's warm, and I think that's pretty regular to know. But like on a scale of 1 to 10, what are we thinking? How hot this seat is?
It's a 6.5 here, guys, because there's also some blame to be put on Russell for just poor quarterback play. And it's easy to say that, but when it comes to guys being wide open, whether it's in the end zone, over the middle of the field, outside the hashes, doesn't matter. And some of them, one would assume would be the hot route, things you really should be hitting as a professional quarterback, and especially a top tier quarterback. There's blame to be put there as well. So I think it's hot for the game management and some of the decisions that he's made, but you can't take blame away from the leader of this team and the leader of this offense.
Yeah, and I mean, the first person that would tell you that is Russell Wilson. He's the first one to step in and say, my poor play has been the reason we've been losing games. Now, is that necessarily true? Maybe. He is playing very poorly, and their offense is stagnant as ever, especially after losing Javonte Williams for the season with a torn up knee. Poor guy.
I also have another thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You don't apologize.
I was very disappointed. This is another problem, another Nate mistake. Classic Nate, always tricking us. He didn't play Melvin Gordon. For those of you who know the longtime journeyman named Latavius Murray, he's ended up on the Denver Broncos with the exit of Javonte Williams. And Melvin Gordon, who's a second-year player on this team, a longtime veteran who's been playing well when he's been called upon, got benched for pretty much the entirety of the game, except for, I think, 3 attempts for a guy that just showed up in camp. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was Melvin Gordon, I'd be pretty upset. And I'd feel kind of abandoned, because that sucks to be on a team for a whole season plus now, go through 2 training camps, perform well when you're called upon, and then get benched for an entire game for no reason for a guy that literally showed up a week ago. So I don't understand that. Nate Hackett came back out and said, Melvin Gordon's starting next week. Good job, Nate. Maybe you should have done that this week, you nutsack. But that bothered me a lot.
Yeah, as it should. I mean, a tenured guy on this team and a tenured guy in the league. Not to say that Latavius Murray isn't, but as someone who's familiar with the offense, being a running back, it's not too hard to step into any different offense. All you have to do is really learn the RPOs, because every other run play is generally the same. And you're a reactive football player. You play to what your offensive line's giving you. Just very rough stuff up in Denver. We're wishing the best for Zachary and fans like him. Hopefully the Broncos could turn it around.
They did look good though. In the first, what was it? There was like 3 drives in the
Those first
half.
3 drives, yeah, they got into field goal range a couple times.
Yeah. Some good Broncos football there.
Yeah, and Greg Dulcich, rookie tight end, playing in his first NFL game.
I was excited about him coming out of the draft. He feels to me like a guy who's going to be quiet for 2 to 3 years, and then in contract year, we'll start to see the fruits of our labor. He seems like a really sturdy guy, and I'm excited about him. Down the line. He's got
as you should be. As you should be. He starts off his career with a touchdown, a pretty solid game, and is being talked about as a great waiver wire ad in fantasy football.
It's
So
very possible.
if you're playing it, keep an eye on him.
No one else is scoring touchdowns on this team, so
This is true. This is very, very true. I mean, the drive in which they scored that touchdown looked
it was
very
gorgeous.
good. It
Luke.
looked
Oh, it was
very,
awesome.
very
Oh
good.
my God. He
was a-
started 8 for 8 or 10 for 10.
Yeah, it was a
Something like that.
classic Russell Wilson drive. We thought maybe it was turning around. Zach texted us. He was like, "Hey, we're rolling."
Yeah,
Added an expletive, but
because freaking, oh my God, I got so jacked up in my room because it's like about to be halftime. It's garbage time. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson, ginormous humans in his face. He can't even see 2 feet in front of him. And he unlaunches a freaking Hail Mary, and KJ Hamler comes down with it. Gorgeous. And we get 3 points out of it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the game we're going to turn it around. We looked freaking awesome this first half. That was really cool. But I lied because that's not true. We lost. We lost again. Like, what was it? What was the score? 1916?
1916. Yeah.
Can we can't even get a 2 at the front of our score. We just can't do it to save our lives. So anyway, we can stop talking about these idiots now.
We can stop talking about these idiots now is the statement of the day from Zachary. Now we're going to move on to some sad news for Arizona Cardinals fans. Arizona, you experienced 2 pretty big injuries this weekend. First, we'll start off with the less notable one, probably one we won't talk too much about. Cardinals left guard, starting left guard, and tenured left guard, Justin Pugh, is feared to be out for the year with a knee injury. Very tough for a very struggling offense and a very struggling offensive line, who also is experiencing injuries to their running backs, James Conner and Darrell Williams. Both are expected to return to the team this week. But a little more notable and a little more important for you fantasy fans and you fantasy owners of Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's likely to miss at least 6 weeks with a foot injury. He's getting a second opinion other than the team doctor to see whether or not he will need surgery. If he does need the surgery, it may be a year-ending injury. Boys, I own Marquise Hollywood Brown in our fantasy league.
I was about to say this solves your problem.
Zach and I were talking about it. So I am an interesting fantasy owner at this moment of Marquise Brown because not only did I draft Marquise Brown, but I also drafted DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Marquise Brown through the first, 6 weeks of the season was in the top 10 of wide receivers fantasy-wise. He was 6 at the beginning of last week, a little bit of a down week after an injury, in which he only put up 14 points, pretty respectable still. Marquise Brown goes down, and so Zach and I were talking, I think, on Sunday. I'm talking to Zach. I said, I know you don't care because we're in the same league together. I know you don't really give a crap if I'm winning more football games or not, but I have Marquise Brown. I also have D-Hop. And I'm lucky enough to also have Cooper Kupp in my fantasy league, as well as Brandon Cooks, Keenan Allen. So I have a pretty stacked up wide receiver core. Keenan Allen is possible to return this week. Brandon Cooks will be playing. He's guy's just consistently always on the field. Obviously D-Hop returns this week from his suspension, his PED suspension that lasted the first 6 weeks of the season. My problems have now been solved.
Yep.
Fantastically. I mean, it's absurd. I walked into this great situation. A better situation would have been him getting hurt next week after I traded him this week. That would have been a better situation, but we can't hope and wish for everything we want.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly,
All right.
Hark. Exactly. So, nonetheless, even though Cooper Kupp is on a bye this week, I will have D-Hop in my lineup and likely will not have Marquise Brown the rest of the year. It's tough because Kyler Murray has been struggling. He did rush for 100 yards on 10 carries or 10 scrambles more so this week. But he's now picking up more situations and more plays where he could actually carry the football. And I was going to get into this later. We might as well roll into it now, but the Cardinals traded for wide receiver Robbie Anderson from the Panthers this week as well. If you are fans of social media and fans of football on social media, you would have noticed that Robbie Anderson got into a bit of a chirping match with his own wide receivers coach, which resulted in him getting kicked out of the game. by his own team. Boys, what do we think of the whole Robbie Anderson situation? What's going on in Arizona? What happened in Carolina? Like, what's our takes? It's a hot topic.
I don't know much about Robbie Anderson and potential, locker room type issues. Maybe Harkins, you have some more input, but I know he's bounced around the league a bit. Started with the old green guy Jets. Do you know if there was any trouble there?
Not that
I
I
don't think so.
remember hearing.
I don't remember anything serious, but I also always remember him not being the first guy in, last guy out.
Yeah, the things that most of the stuff that came up about him were this year, like when they signed Darnold and traded for Baker. Wasn't he like in like a comment section somewhere, being like not this guy or something? He said something like that.
Oh yeah,
Early in the offseason when there were rumors spreading around about the Baker Mayfield to the Panthers before it had actually happened and come to fruition, Robbie Anderson posted on a football memes Instagram comment section saying no to a post about Baker to the Panthers. He's a clown. I mean, if you saw the video last year when he joined the Panthers and he's talking about their mascot, and he goes, "What's that bear doing up there?" And I think it was DJ Moore.
What that bear doing?
Yeah, and I think DJ Moore looks over at him and goes, "That's Sir Purr. That's the Panther."
Sir Purr.
Now Robbie Anderson hadn't been with the team very long, but I mean that's a little foolish.
Wait, this is news to me. Their mascot is named Sir Purr.
Sir Purr,
you
baby.
Saw that video,
Sir
dude?
Purr, big old Black Panther.
He's like, you call him that? You're like, yeah, it's Sir Purr. What do you mean? Yeah, we call him that. Hilarious video.
What a name.
Oh my God, I gotta look that up. But yeah, no, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to force his way out of there and Sunday was just the end of it, kind of. I'm sure, I fear like he was probably just happy to get out.
Oh, I mean, getting off of that football team is a blessing to anyone. Yeah. I mean, McCaffrey, I'm sure wants to. DJ Moore, I'm sure wants to, as well as all the other good football players there. But I mean, they're without a head coach. They have an interim head coach who's, I believe, their special teams coordinator, and it's not looking great in Carolina. They lose another game this week, 24-10 against the Rams. It's all downhill. It's really all downhill. They lose their number 2 receiver. Yeah, he might not be that guy or he might not be great, but he still contributes to that offense and he's still an option for whoever is playing quarterback. DJ Moore in an interview today was saying that it didn't matter who his quarterback was. They were going to play regardless and none of it would affect. And they were listing off the quarterbacks. He was like, well, Baker won't be playing. Sam's not really practicing yet. And then they go, Jacob, and he goes, oh, yeah, no, Jacob's going to be doing good. We're fine with Jacob. Jacob Eason, everybody, is Jacob in question here. PJ Walker did step into the game after the injury, or started the game, but he then goes down early in the game as well. And
this team is butt.
Jacob Eason steps in to play quarterback, the longtime Washington Husky Jacob Eason.
And Georgia Bulldog before that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot to eat your words sometimes, and I think I stuck my neck too far out on my Panthers prediction for this year.
You have them being
9-8. My opening line was I said the Carolina Panthers are a team that's ready to pop this season with their tremendous additions and Christian McCaffrey coming back and their front seven, which on paper is gross. I'll repeat it again. It's Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Matt Ioannidis, Uter Gross Matos, and Shaq Thompson. Where are they?
That's pretty damn good. If you ask
ridiculous.
Me.
Yeah. And so I saw that. And then they got J.C. Horn and Dante Jackson. So I said, you know what? This will be good. No.
I mean, J.C. Horn's been locking dudes up. He has the number 1 coverage grade in the NFL through 6 weeks. Right. And, I mean, Dante Jackson's never been a cornerback to snuff at either. He's been playing subpar, apparently.
No, this team stinks.
This team does stink. They stink. They're bad. They're very bad. They're smelly. No one wants to be there. No one wants to be near it. The
Cardinals like Will Levis
didn't even ask for anything. other than Robbie Anderson and the Panthers being so bad that they didn't ask for anything in return. They just gave them away. They were like, yeah, no, go ahead. We want no assets in return for this. I mean, yes, there was a heated situation, but he's a football player. He's worth something to your organization. Get something out of him. I think. Ugh.
Dude, Vinny, just talking about the quarterback thing, me and Vinny now, every single one of like the last 3 or 4 weeks, we'll text each other back and forth, just being like, dude, Corral could be out there right now.
Corral could be out there right now.
Corral could be out there. Like, that stinks. I feel so bad for him because he actually, like, there could have, of course, none of these guys can stay healthy. So there's probably a good chance he would have just gotten hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
just if he had the opportunity and actually played halfway decent right now, like it would have worked very well for him, because then the rest of those guys would have just been gone after this year.
Gonzo. I mean, the Panthers currently on their roster have 5 quarterbacks: Baker, Darnold, Corral, PJ Walker, and Jacob Eason.
And Jacob Eason feeling one really healthy.
I think if you put every best trait of these 5 quarterbacks together, you might get Kirk Cousins. You might. Maybe if you're lucky, you get Kirk Cousins. Probably not even then.
Prime time Kirk Cousins. It's prime time.
Yeah, you get nighttime Kirk Cousins. The guy that's afraid of the dark. Oh, shoot.
Man, do you think the Panthers fans of old saw this coming?
Who is a Panthers fan?
No, the Carolina people. What are you talking about?
They don't even watch NFL
They're in the
football.
sun.
They just
They're
go Clemson.
Listen, everybody got on the bandwagon in 2015, and then as soon as they realized Cam Newton throws balls to Japan when he's trying to throw it to the 20-yard line, they hopped off the wagon. So where are all those fans now?
I don't think I can name a single Panthers fan. If there's a Panthers fan in the chat right now, which I severely doubt.
What's his name? Kurt Zarba. Kurt Zarba is a Panthers fan. Proud and true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, McGTV, the alias of potentially Juan. It was a pleasure to drive home with you as well on Sunday. I learned a great many things. I feel educated now.
Zach, tell me something about the year 1916.
It's a good year.
Tell me something about it.
That's all you need to know. It was a good year.
Tell me something that happened in 1916.
Grover Cleveland was alive, I think, at one point.
He was at one point alive. This is true. Okay, we can move forward.
Yeah, I forget. I'm sorry, Juan.
Juan, you teach this man nothing. He returns with nothing.
He taught me all about, what is they freaking called? Tonsil stones.
Tonsils.
Very dangerous. Caused by bacteria. Potentially, they don't know the full cause.
Oh Lord.
Sounds like you learned a lot.
I learned many, many things.
You guys want to get into that? How was the trip?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? Let's get through the injuries, and then that'll be our first topic. Just because we're almost done with the injuries here, because some of them will go quick. Cliff, great to have you in the chat, my friend. Yes, the Jets win this week, and so do the Giants. New Jersey is good at football once again. And we will further get into Sauce Gardner later in the show, Cliffy, if you do stick around, my friend. Back to our injury report. I'll go through a couple of these guys real quick. Saints wide receiver Chris Olave has cleared concussion protocol and claims that he will be playing this week. Great return for the Saints, who play Thursday against the Cardinals. Broncos. Nothing positive has been said about the Broncos on this show. In a long time. Actually, other than Patrick Surtain praise. Other than that, it's all been downhill.
Nothing's been good said about the Broncos since 2015.
The Broncos, it's just looking worse and worse. You lost your 5th player to a torn ACL this season. 5.
Yeah.
Oh my 5 players. Outside linebacker Aaron Patrick has torn his ACL and will not return this year, as well as Javonte Williams and multiple others. And on a good note, Justin Simmons did return to play on Monday night.
That was nice to see.
And it was helpful as the Chargers could not find Mike Williams. Now we'll adjust to another safety. 49ers safety Talanoa Hufanga has been placed in concussion protocol and will not play this week. He suffered a concussion against the Falcons. I tried not to talk about every 49ers injury that occurred this week. But the list, it's very long. I'll leave it at that. It's over a starting roster's worth of players injured by the 49ers.
Yeah, it's really
About
bad.
12 to 15 of them are impact players on the team. So hoping to get some of these guys back soon. The good thing is some of the injuries are very minor, short term, and hopefully we'll be able to make a nice push towards playoff time. We are still number one in the NFC West, though. So we'll take that and keep rolling. Another team we haven't talked very positively about this NFL season is the Washington Commanders. Quarterback Carson Wentz to miss 4 to 6 weeks, recovering from surgery on his finger that he fractured Monday. It is in his throwing hand, so much like Dak Prescott, he's expected to have the same timetable. Taylor Heineke is expected to start, and Washington also drafted Sam Howell from North Carolina in the 5th round of this year's draft. We'll stop here and talk a little bit, boys. What do we think? What's going to happen in this quarterback room? Are we happy that Smelly Wentz is gone? What's going on here?
His Royal Heineke, he's coming out to play. He's finally coming off the bench, and he knows how to win games. For goodness sake, the Commanders, well, I think they were the Redskins at the time. When he was playing in the playoffs, they said, I want that guy. And then they went and traded a whole bunch of stuff for a different guy who sucks very bad. So I'm glad to see Taylor Heineke back at the helm.
Hark, obviously you're a big college football follower and fan, especially last season. And so tell me a little bit about Sam Howell. Should we be interested? Should we think otherwise? Is Heineke that guy, or is Sam Howell going to possibly give him a run for his money?
I mean, I think it'll definitely be Heineke. Howell had a very weird season last year. He was the preseason favorite to win the Heisman last year. Believe it or not. I don't know if
I
you can
thought
remember
Rattler
it.
was.
Last year, I'm pretty sure maybe it was Howell was preseason favorite to go like the number 1 quarterback pick. It was one
Okay.
or the other.
Yep.
He was.
I think he
supposed
might have
to
been
be-
favored to go number 1 quarterback.
He was like supposed to be the guy last year, and I think they opened the season with a loss, and everyone forgot about him pretty much. And he didn't have that great of a year, so it'll be interesting to see. They also, the way that offense is at Carolina, they're pretty like high powered, like very up tempo, throwing the ball a ton. So he was able to put up numbers. I mean, I'm personally excited to see Heineke play, very excited, because the guy just won games when he was playing for them. He just won games. They almost beat the Bucks that year in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. I'm very excited to see him play. That'll actually, because I felt bad for him. I saw an interview with him like right after they got Wentz, and he was just like, yeah, like thought it was me, but I guess it was like he like thought it was his job kind of, and then just finding out it's not. It's just so hard. I feel like, especially when it's Carson Wentz, dude.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we all thought that the only way that the Commanders were really going to improve quarterback wise this offseason would have been through the draft. That's what we had expected at least, and then the Wentz signing or the Wentz trade occurred, bringing the dog shit quarterback Carson Wentz to Washington. It is what it is. Although Sam Howell, he has something nice to look forward. Diami Brown, his former college teammate, is on the Commanders roster and is currently listed as their number 3 wide receiver. He caught 2 touchdown passes in week 5. So possibly something to look out for maybe there, a little duo action that might bring him to the top.
True.
Although fantasy owners, Taylor Heineke did very well with our friend Terry McLaurin last year, and Terry McLaurin has done very poorly with Carson Wentz this year. So maybe that Terry McLaurin 3rd round draft pick might work out for you in the end, but who knows? Wentz will be sitting on his butt for a couple of weeks.
And Diami Brown it's very important not to confuse him with former NBA star Kwame Brown. I know they may seem similar, but they're not the
Who
same.
is a bona fide scrub.
Bona fide scrub. I wish I could do a better impression, but oh well. Some sad news out of Eagles camp, but not bad news. The Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson, their star right tackle for many years, suffered a concussion Sunday night against the Cowboys. Luckily, the Eagles are on a bye this week, so Lane Johnson will be slated to come back in 2 weeks as long as his concussion isn't too bad. Some more NFL offensive line problems. Rams lose their starting left tackle, Joe Noteboom, for the year with a torn Achilles. Terrible, terrible injury. Very sad to hear about. Rams just not looking great this year. So it doesn't help. It definitely does not help. And then last two injuries, Packers wide receiver Randall Cobb, who has been Aaron Rodgers' favorite target so far this NFL season, will miss 2 to 4 weeks with an ankle sprain. It's not a high ankle sprain, just a regular one, but an old man needs a little more time to recover than some of these young bucks. And last but not least, Chargers kicker Dustin Hopkins will miss 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. He played through it this Sunday and kicked a game winner to beat the Broncos. And it worked out. It worked out for Dustin Hopkins. He played through an injury, toughened it out. All right, boys. I didn't put this in the best of order.
I have a quick segment that I would like to interject.
Rip it, boy.
I would like to promote this book really quick that just came in today. This book is called The Seven. I'm sorry. This book is called This.
Thanks, Zach. That was a good segment.
Thanks, buddy. All right, back to what we should be talking about. What is it called? The Seven what? Wow, it must be that funny because this is a lot of laughing.
It's a funny book.
Zach.
Take your time, don't worry.
Yeah, no, nobody's waiting. Our viewers aren't getting bored. No, not happening.
Just move on. It's not worth waiting for me.
I really want to hear it now because you've made a whole big deal out of it. Say it, boy.
This is great radio.
Dude, it's great radio. Everyone loves this.
It's called The Seven Most.
Oh my God.
Oh, come on, dude. Say it. Come on, you can do it. All right, show us the title then, and I'll read it out loud. If I don't die laughing.
Oh my God.
Dude, just show the title of the book, and I'll read it. You typing it in the chat?
Oh my God, Zach.
Oh my God, this man is crying. Can you somehow communicate to us this title, please?
It's in the doc.
Oh, where? Where in the doc?
It's called The Seven Most Important Things About 1916. And it's written by Juan from Middlebury. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Should I kick him from the Zoom?
Maybe.
I want you
Might be
to
worth it.
so
It
bad.
might be worth
I
it.
want you to so bad, but sadly, then it would just be me and you talking to each other, Hark, and we do that enough. Nobody needs to watch that.
Oh my God.
Okay, sorry. I mean, we probably lost 14 of our 14 viewers.
We did lose 2 in that
Yep,
span. I was paying
typical.
attention.
Typical. Great. So,
Sorry.
Hark, you were asking about our experience at MetLife. I have
Yep.
to say, it was fantastic. So I'll bring us into our topic, our PFR trip to MetLife, minus Hark, sadly. Man is a working man on the weekends. Saquon Barkley looked fantastic, but more importantly, their offensive line was incredible in the run game. A little shaky in the first half, pass protection-wise, but Daniel Jones looked to have a clean pocket for the rest of the second half. So they really made some changes there early on. Lamar had some sloppy football play. He looked like the whole passing game was just him throwing it to Mark Andrews across the middle of the field. It worked. Andrews had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Kenyon Drake also had 10 attempts for 119 yards and a touchdown. But Lamar made some bad decisions, threw a big pick to Julian Love, which turned into the game-winning drive for the Giants. Daniel Jones has 4 fourth quarter game-winning drives this NFL season. No quarterback has more than 2 other than Daniel. Very impressive. But let's talk a little more personal. So, Zach and I went on a bit of a bender this weekend. Real fun weekend.
Something else, dude.
So, Zach and I went from Boston, one of the greatest cities in the entire world, to Middlebury, Connecticut, close to the center of the universe, pretty close. And then ended up in MetLife Stadium at about 8:30 in the morning on Sunday after a 2-hour drive. I don't like driving in New Jersey or New York. So if you live there, please call your local congressman and tell them to fix your effing roads because they're miserably bad.
They stink.
But we had a great time. I mean, great tailgating. We got there. We were treated like kings all weekend. Big shout out. I don't know how many McGrats are watching this show because I know your beloved Matthew's busy in Pittsburgh. Hopefully some of you guys are still watching because big thank you from myself and I'm sure from Zach on hosting us this weekend. Scott, if you're somewhere around, which I know you're not because you would already been blowing up the chat. Scott, thank you very much for having Zach and I at the game. We had an absolute blast. Zach and I gulped down some food. We had some sausage. We had some steak. We had some chicken parm sliders, which were actually fantastic. Zach had the shrimp. Everything I put in my body on Sunday was delicious. Plenty of beers to wash it down. Plenty of beers. Just great time with the boys. And we got to see one of our good friends who lives down in Jersey. So we got to have a good time. And it was really great. I mean, great football too. I mean, Zach, come on, let's talk about it a little bit, buddy. I know. Let's get over the 7 most important things that happened in 19.
Yeah, no, I'm over it. I'm sorry about that whole thing. I just thought
it's not all right, but it's fine.
Okay. So yeah, it was a great football game. Particularly at the end, if you didn't get the chance to see it, the Giants put the heat on the Ravens at the last minute, got a pick off Lamar Jackson to score. And then Lamar Jackson, game in his hands, goes to make a drive, and they flip the script back on him again. Kayvon Thibodeau rushes in, gets a sack, strip sack. Giants recover, win the game. Gorgeous way to finish out a game. And thank you to everybody for hosting us because it really was a fantastic time.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely great time. Really, really good football game. And you know, the best part about the game, in my opinion, I mean, Zach, you probably will agree, was we were sitting with Scott from D11, who's a lifetime Giants fan, big-time season ticket holder, great friend of the McGrats. And it was just great to, like, watch Scott go through all of, like, the good feelings watching a football game. Like, he turned to us about third quarter time when the Giants were down. I believe it was I think it was 20-10. I think they were down 20-10 at one point. And he turned to us and said, any other year, I would just have given up already. He's like, I don't leave football games, but I do give up at a certain point. And he said, any other year, I would have given up. But then they turn around, they get the pick, like Zach says, the strip sack, and they seal the game after scoring 2 touchdowns. It was great to just watch Scott go through the highs and lows of a football game. Sitting in heaven up there with our boy Scott. Zach was falling asleep.
I was, because Friday was a lot.
Like I said, Zach and I had a bit of an adventure. We woke up in 3 different states this weekend on 3 different days. It was really just interesting experience for the both of us.
Nice job, guys.
It's not a good thing.
I slept pretty good the last night. You actually went home, but in the hotel, we got a nice hotel. Shout out my parents for my little birthday gift to the hotel room. That was fantastic. We had a kitchen for whatever reason in our hotel room. But that was cool. MetLife, okay place. It's an okay place. The people really make it. It's just like UConn. Piece of crap, but it's the people there that make it the way that it is.
People make the place, baby.
Absolutely. But let's get back into a little bit of what we learned, what we didn't learn this weekend. First thing, what we learned is that a depleted Bills roster is a little bit better than a depleted Chiefs roster. Both teams are suffering pretty big injuries in their secondary early on in this season, and both are dealing with some offensive line injuries also. The Bills won the game 24-20. It was a big time quarterback battle. Both quarterbacks threw 2 passes and over 200 passing yards. It was good to watch. We were watching it. I was watching it in a bar called the Whiskey Priest in Belleville, New Jersey. Don't ask.
Priest.
Don't
That's
ask.
Interesting.
I was suggested to go there. I had a great time. Big football bar, I guess. However it ended up being, but boys, Zach, you probably didn't watch it because you were in the car with the McGraths.
Well,
go ahead. Maybe you caught some of the game.
Yeah, we snuck in a few moments there. What the really big thing for me is I'm glad that the Bills won because my picks stunk last week really bad. So that was
6-8 record for you, my friend.
yeah,
Yikes.
that was important.
That's okay. Cool. Mark, did you get to watch any of the Chiefs Bills game?
I got to watch some of it. I was at my uncle's, but we had like Red Zone on, so I got to see some of it.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I thought it was good to see the Bills actually step up and win that game. Kind of coming like obviously they're not fighting their demons just yet because it's not the playoffs, but for them to be able to do that was really good. The other thing that was interesting was it to go into the half, they scored with like nothing left, and the Chiefs came right back down and kicked a field goal.
They did. I was
was
talking
just
to my
like-
grandfather on the phone on Monday, well, one of these days, and he was talking about how scary it was to watch Patrick Mahomes have like 15 seconds left and drive down.
Yeah, it was insane. And finally at the end of that game, because it was just going to be the same thing at the end of that game, I was like, the Bills scored and that was awesome. And I was like, I looked at the time and I was like, oh my God. Like they're in trouble here. Way too much
time.
It's like 5 times too much time for Mahomes.
Oh yeah,
and they got that pick.
Exactly. Bill's secondary comes up huge with a nice pick to finish the game off. Mahomes threw 2 interceptions this weekend. Very not like him, but when you're playing one of the top defenses in the NFL, it's not easy to throw a perfect pass every time, especially when you're only working with Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore and a weird receiving core down there. But yeah, that was our 425 Fox game of the week. But what's more interesting is this week we learned that a depleted Bills roster is better than a depleted Chiefs roster, but we didn't learn a whole lot else. So let me just go through this. I got a little spiel here, but what we didn't learn on Sunday was who is good at football right now. Nobody knows the answer to that question, unless you're talking about the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFL, which have been consistent all season. Other than that, we obviously talked about the Ravens. They lost 24-20 in MetLife. The Giants' defense looked superb. They were containing Lamar Jackson basically the entirety of the game. Kenyon Drake slipped out a little bit, but if that's all that's going to happen, then you got to chalk it up to a pretty solid defensive turnout. The Jets traveled to Green Bay and beat them 27-10. Breece Hall looks like an absolute monster. 20 rushing attempts, 116 rushing yards, and a touchdown. The Bucs lose to the Steelers 2018 in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's rookie QB Kenny Pickett left early with a concussion. Mitchell Trubisky steps in with a 9 for 12, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And the 49ers kind of got wiped by the Falcons 28-14. Mariota was like 97% completion.
Wipe.
2 touchdowns, 50 yards rushing, and a touchdown on the ground, too. Man, oh, man. Zach, who is good at football this year? Please tell me.
The Bills.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
It's hard to tell. A lot of teams,
the Eagles.
And even with all the confusion going on during the season, there's a lot of teams that folks either overprojected or underprojected coming in. I mean, I don't want to say another. Yeah, I was going to say. I don't want to talk about them anymore. But like the Colts, a lot of people gave props to. They've been missing Shaq Leonard, but the offense has been really pretty miserable. And the Packers, but we knew they were going to have trouble and so on. Teams like this, so it's been a really odd year. I feel like this is the start maybe of a transition here, where teams that used to be good maybe will not. We're starting to get new teams maybe that are going to be good. We're going to get into this new wave. The Packers are probably going to phase out. They've been perennial leaders. Any team with Tom Brady has been top. They're 3-3 right now. They can't really get it together. And who's good? The Giants are back on top. The Vikings are starting to reassert themselves. I mean, even last year's Super Bowl champions are 3-3.
And the Super Bowl runner-up was 3-3.
And the Super Bowl runner-up. So it's not anything like we saw last year, which is, it makes for good TV and good football, but it's really hard to make picks. It's really hard to understand what you're seeing. And I don't know.
Yeah, no,
It's an
that's
interesting time.
yeah, that's a great. I mean, great thought there. I fully agree. It's tough. It's hard guessing because you have the Jets at 4-2. I don't even know if I've picked the Jets once this season. You have the Giants at 5-1. I think I've only picked them once this season, maybe twice. Uh, you have the 49ers who, I mean, obviously I pick every week, but they're 3-3. The Falcons are 3-3. The Saints are 3-3. The Buccaneers are 3-3. The Dolphins are 3-3. The Patriots are 3-3. I could keep going on because just about everybody in the NFL is 3-3 right now, other than the teams that are 5-1 or 1-5 or 4-2 or 1-4 or 2-4. I mean, there are clear bottom teams. There are clear top teams, but everything in the middle is just an absolute mishmash of just mediocre football play. And I mean, that's very relevant in fantasy football this year, which took a huge hit. According to fantasy experts, that fantasy football points in a total as a whole is down 21% from last season. And it's also the lowest scoring fantasy football year in 13 NFL seasons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I know
That
I'm
is
referencing
crazy.
fantasy football, not real football, but fantasy football gives you a very good in-depth look into how these offenses are performing and how many points are being put up every Sunday. I mean, go into that, Zach. I mean, I know me and you big time fantasy guys.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about fantasy. Obviously, it's not real football, but I mean, at its core, fantasy football is making fun with statistics. I mean, that's what it is. It's a statistic software that encourages betting, basically. I mean, for those of you who don't know how it works, I know a lot of people have asked me how it works, friends, everything is worth points. So like a receiver, when they generate yards or catches, that gets marked down in the system, that counts as points, touchdowns, points, rushing yards, points, things like this. So quite literally, it's a translation of the offensive production, as Luigi's saying. So for the entirety of the league, because don't forget, everybody in the league is up for grabs in these in fantasy. For the entirety of fantasy football, points to be down 21% is actually a pretty relevant statistic, even though you may think you hear fantasy football and be like, no, it's not.
No, I think it definitely is. I mean, I think it was maybe not this week, but last week. I mean, obviously the Bucks haven't been good, but like I still pay attention to a lot of stuff Brady says. And even he was saying, I mean, he's been in the league 22 years right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even he said this is probably the worst like product he's seen of football in as long as he can remember, at least, which is kind of crazy like to see, because I feel like last 2 years have been like crazy offensively, and this year has been like the complete opposite. And it's so weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw that quote as well, Hark. He said that a week or two ago. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's been mediocre football play throughout the entirety of the league. I mean, is it mediocre football play or is it great defensive play? It's very hard to say, because at the same time, these defensive stats aren't eye-popping. There's no guys with crazy amounts of sacks. We have guys with, I think the league leader right now is Highsmith in Pittsburgh with 6.5. Which is just one a week, which is impressive. Obviously, it's a very, very impressive thing to have one sack a week, but there's nobody with a crazy amount of sacks. There's nobody with a crazy amount of interceptions. I think the league leader right now is Tariq Woolen, the rookie corner in Seattle, who's been balling out pretty darn good. First rookie corner in Seattle to have 4 picks since
Richard Sherman
out of boy Hart. So Tariq Woolen's tracking pretty well. It's weird. I mean, this isn't the season in which you should be getting into football. Last season probably should have been when you had Cooper Kupp going for 150 yards a week and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase blowing the top off of every defense they played. And Brady had 5,000 plus yards. Rodgers had 30 plus touchdowns. Even Kirk Cousins was balling out last year. I mean, it was huge, huge, huge. And you notice the big thing I said was all these quarterbacks, like a big highlight is poor quarterback play. Right now you have the Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, weirdly, Geno Smith, and then you have like everyone else just sitting way below him. I mean, Herbert obviously got hurt early in the season, and it's definitely been impacting his play the past couple of weeks. But even he's not playing to the level where we thought so. Derek Carr looks miserable. I mean, there's good quarterbacks.
Yeah, that one is weird.
Exactly. There's good quarterbacks in this league that are not performing well. I mean, you guys have like quarterback you want to pick on or something?
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with one of them.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do.
No, I'm done. I don't want to talk about him anymore. You go. You can do it.
That's fair.
Well, I just want to see if you guys said this kind of changed the topic a little bit, I guess. But
No, go ahead.
like the Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones
Zappening.
stuff, he's been playing well. Like, I mean, obviously helps. We're running the ball very well, but this past week he actually had a pretty good week.
He did. He's been finding his weirdly named wide receivers like Tyquan Thornton and Devontae Parker. Just
Jacoby Myers.
Kobe Myers. These guys are going off for no reason with the zappening. And you know, it's interesting to see. And the Patriots way is one quarterback for 20 years. It's how it's been it's how it was with Brady. I mean, that was the Patriots way. That's what we all knew. But maybe the Patriots way is a backup quarterback coming in and outperforming his starter. Maybe that's really what the Patriots do. Maybe that's what the Patriot way is.
I saw something and it was like Belichick knew he had to take the first round draft. Someone might have said it, and they were like, Belichick had to take his first round quarterback draft pick just so he could take someone in like the 5th round the next year to take his spot.
Yeah,
it's like a deal with the devil that he just has to give up that first round pick.
Maybe that's his thing.
Know.
Maybe he has a deal with the devil. Who knows?
Yeah, there was something.
He's a dark man.
Yeah, something came out yesterday that apparently Mac had like a big head or something after having a good year last year, and that people like inside of New England are kind of happy that this is happening with Bailey Zappi.
Give him a little competition.
One of the Boston writers, Ben Volen, who had reported it, someone said something like how he said he got like a tip about it or something from within the Patriots thing. A random kid on Twitter DM'd him this. Or like, I don't know if this was the only report he was going on, but like I legitimately saw a kid on Twitter posted a screenshot between their DMs, and it was him saying Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones needed to like get knocked down a peg, like all this stuff. And Volen responded to him, say, "Hey, thanks for the tip," or whatever.
No way.
Some good journalism. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
really.
Peak journalism in
rigorous.
2022.
Mm-hmm.
Peak journalism in 2022.
So, but I just want to know your guys' opinion. I mean, I think I probably asked this. Of course, I haven't been on, but I think I've asked you this personally. It's like if he keeps playing well, like I don't know. I think maybe let Mac back in, see if he plays well. But like he's been playing well. Can't lie.
He has. You can't lie because he has. It's just what's been going on. I don't know. Mac's only in his second year. It's not like he is a solidified 5-year starter. I mean, there's no reason he necessarily needs to step in and be the guy. Now, if Mac's outperforming Zappi in practice every day, he's the leader in the locker room, he's the guy that the guys want on the field, then yeah, it's going to be very hard to put Bailey Zappi in over Mac. But if there is some true overturning in that locker room, or maybe Mac's being a little too big for his bridges, maybe then something will happen. Something will change. But I mean, I think it's way too early to tell. Mac's probably not going to be back even next week. Right now it is Bailey Zappi's show and he is running it. And I mean, hey, what if he just continues to keep playing really, really well and it keeps a clean record as he's been doing the past couple of weeks? Belichick's definitely got a big decision to make.
Definitely. And I think Belichick is probably one of those guys in the league that like by no means would he ever be like, oh no, he was our guy before. He's going to be playing. Like
Yeah.
Belichick definitely is one of those guys. He like the business is the business, and Belichick does not
Absolutely.
care.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'll always like whatever decision he typically goes with the exception of hiring a defensive coordinator as our OC. The exception of that, I'll agree with pretty much most of the stuff he does.
Yeah, I agree. Boys, I want to keep it relatively short. So I want to do this next segment, but I say, since
Yeah.
we generally have like good consensus on all of these guys, I say we're going to label this the third of the way through season
Awards.
That's simply what we're going to do. PFR's awards a third of the way through the NFL season this year. And I
This
think
smells like a graphic.
Yeah, we're going to, hey, come on, graphic boy. Let's see it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. So we're going to start off on the back end. I know I listed it top to bottom, but we're going to go with comeback player of the year first and foremost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll go bottom to top. We'll work our way up, And I'll list. Here's how we're going to do it. I'll list who we have as our consensus guy, and then we could go and talk about it a little bit more. So right now, our consensus player for comeback player of the year, Saquon Barkley. Pretty clean cut one. He's been playing fantastic. He's second in rushing yards behind Nick Chubb. He's number one in all-purpose yards for running backs. His Giants are 5-1 mainly because of him this season, and the run game and Saquon Barkley's career looks revitalized in MetLife. You want to add anything, boys?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. There's been some games that they've had to really rely on him, especially on that game when all their quarterbacks got hurt and he ended up just having to run the Wildcat. I mean, he's been putting the team on his back. And it's like I feel like just about everyone in the NFL has to, like every NFL fan, even if you hate the Giants, like I hate the Giants. I mean, I feel like it's hard to hate the Giants when they've stunk for so long, but anyway, he's like an awesome football player. Like it's great to see him back playing. So I think he really deserves it.
Yeah.
And
before we were going to that game, our big thing was we get to see prime Saquon. We were so excited for it. Go ahead, Zach.
I think it's very obvious nowadays to tell who is a star running back and who's not, because it's clearly a passing league. There's no question about that. Every team has adopted that. However, there are certain teams that have the ability to be carried by a running back, and it takes a very special running back to do that. I mean, we talked about it. He's doing it now. The team's not as good. He's not performing as well, but in past years, we talked about it with Derrick Henry, where, that was a team that could be carried by Derrick Henry because he was so phenomenal. And Saquon Barkley is that special kind of guy that can take a passing offense in a passing league and carry it on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw him run a couple Wildcat plays this weekend. He looks amazing. He had almost 100. I think it was 95 or 97 all-purpose yards this week against the Ravens. Very impressive football player, and I'm glad to see him back in prime form, just in time to get a contract, may I add. Next up,
that's true.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. I see we all have three different picks here, but is there a consensus guy? I think that there is.
I like yours, actually.
Yeah,
and
I like
Harkins, I think
too.
you have a good argument.
So I like all three of these guys. These are probably my three top guys, 100%. But I think PFR, in terms of our consensus guy, it's going to be Sauce Gardner. But I'll personally touch on the other two guys real quick, and then I'll let you guys take. Or you know what? Both of you touch on the runner-ups, and then I'll throw it over to Sauce. How about that?
Yeah.
So Hark, you start off with our boy Jack Jones.
Yeah, I can talk about Jack Jones. I mean, he obviously, I know the Patriots we had him, but I didn't know. Wasn't really expecting anything, especially out of this defense. Like I was like, oh, we have McCourty, like he'll be good. We'll still be a good defense because it's Belichick. But Jack Jones has been like really good. I think he's not anymore. But prior to this past week, he was the highest rated corner, like within coverage in the NFL. I don't think he has a ton of picks, but he still has been very good and has taken JC Jackson's position like that, like been playing very well. So I don't know. It's exciting to see that the Patriots are just able to turn out another like really good corner.
Yeah, I mean, Bill's done it his whole career. As of the beginning of last week, Jack Jones and what's his name? Who's the other Jones? What's his first name?
On the Pats?
On the Pats. The other.
I know that he exists, but I don't know his first name.
Why can't I think of his name? He played alongside JC Jackson all last year. He was good even last year.
Fuck, I know what you're
I
talking about.
apologize. Very unprofessional of me, but the two cornerbacks on the Patriots were the top 2 rated cornerbacks in the league last week. That changed, obviously. But Zach, tell us a little about the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, so I had Aiden Hutchinson, and he's not who I had coming into the year, but, you know, everybody knows him. He is a very talented kid, and he hasn't disappointed. The Lions have certainly had some Jonathan Jones. Thanks, Eric.
That's it.
No problem.
I knew it was a JJ.
Yeah.
They've had problems. You know, they're 1-4, 1-5.
1-4. They had to bye this week.
That's right. They're 1-4, but he hasn't disappointed. He had one game with multiple sacks, or was it 2 games with multiple sacks? One game.
He had all 3 of his sacks in one game.
Right.
So that's how many sacks he's sent out for the year too.
Right. But he's getting pressures, and I think he looks good, and it's a long season. So that's why I had him. That's why I had him.
Yeah. Like I said, these are probably my 2 and 3, the guys that you guys threw out there. Jack Jones has been superb. He has, I think, 3 interceptions, 2 or 3. I know he has multiple interceptions. Aiden Hutchinson has 3 sacks on the year and is tied for the rookie lead. Yeah, thank you, Hart. Jack Jones with 2 picks. But as of right now, my number 1 guy for defensive rookie of the year, and if Cliff, you're still listening, my friend, Mr. Sauce Gardner is our consensus defensive rookie of the year. Gardner has the number 1 passer rating allowed in the NFL. Not even for rookies, not for Jets corners, not for NFC or AFC corners. Number 1 in the NFL. He's been absolutely superb. He got his first pick last week. He threw a little cheese head on after they beat the Packers this week and got it knocked off by Jordan Love. But he's good. He is kind of as advertised. But the next one here, I think, is a pretty good consensus. I do like Dameon Pierce, Zach. He's been playing well on a very tough team, but I think a guy who's winning football games is more likely to win an award in the offseason, and that's going to be for PFR. Our offensive rookie here is going to be Breece Hall. I said earlier, Breece Hall rushed this week 20 times for 116 yards and a touchdown. He also added 2 catches to that stat line as well against the Packers. He's turning.
Luigi?
Yeah. What's up?
The last thing you said cut out. Whatever it was.
I'm getting an internet connection is unstable. Hopefully that fixes itself. So he's been playing superb, Breece Hall. That's our guy this year for so far a third of the way through the season.
And I think that would be a really nice thing because, you know, that's one of the draft classes, if not the draft class we're most excited about.
Yeah.
With the 3 first-round picks, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, and Jermaine Johnson did a really nice job. So very reminiscent of when the Saints won offensive and defensive with Ryan Ramczyk and Marshawn Lattimore. I think that'd be really nice for the Jets.
Kamara and Lattimore. But they you're right, though. They did draft Ramczyk. He was in that draft.
It was
class.
Kamara?
Yeah, it was Kamara who won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but Ramczyk he was drafted that year too. So, but their draft class was superb that year, absolutely. So Breece Hall's balling out with New York. So is Sauce Gardner. We have 2 Jets as our offensive and defensive rookie of the year. Next, we're going to move on to Coach of the Year. I put down Robert Saleh just to differentiate when we thought we might have a little more time, but our guy's Brian Dable. I think across the league right now, it's got to be Brian Dable. He's brought this team to 5-1, and it's clearly, very, very clearly because of his coaching changes and things he's done as a head coach. Do you guys have anything to add?
No,
not really.
I love it. I love the way he's managing his team.
Yeah, he's been great. He's brought in a great coaching staff. He's brought in a great vibe to New York. New York media was saying that Brian Dable is the best fat dude in New York since Biggie. I loved that. I thought that was hilarious. Next up, now we're moving into the top three. The top three awards that are usually given out. We have Defensive Player of the Year, and this one, it's just way too obvious. He might not have the best stats for his position. He might not have the number one thing in every position, but he is the only guy in the whole entire NFL that is absolutely keyed onto every single play. He's the only game-breaking football player we've seen this far through the season, and that's Micah Parsons. The Cowboys outside linebacker, defensive back, defensive end, wherever they want to line him up, and they have been doing that a lot. He's been the best player on the football field at all times, without a doubt. He's a menace. He's an absolute menace. Game breaker. And I know there's huge comparisons drawn to Lawrence Taylor, and those are very lofty comparisons, obviously, as Lawrence Taylor is consensusly the best defensive football player we've ever seen. But he's living up to his comparisons.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's especially showing just how he's been great, but the Cowboys defensive line has been good as a whole for the most part. And it's definitely because he's drawing those double teams. He's drawing all the eyes on him. No, I think he's without a doubt going to be Defensive Player of the Year unless something crazy happens.
Yeah. Do you agree with us, Zach?
I do.
All right. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year. We all had different picks, but I think that we could consensusly go with Saquon as the Offensive Player of the Year so far this season. We talked earlier on how he's just out. He's been game breaking. He's taking a hold of this offense and really putting it on his back some games when he really has to and when he doesn't have to. Saquon's
Can you win both?
Yeah, you can win multiple things. I mean,
yeah, I think it's just MVP and
I think Lawrence Taylor in '85. It's kind of a sidebar, but Lawrence Taylor won NFL MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, was an All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, and was the Super Bowl MVP. It's the only perfect season that anyone's ever achieved.
Well, I feel like they don't vote that way anymore. Like, feel like, okay, because I was going to say no one has won the MVP.
No. Lamar's MVP year, he should have won MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, like hands down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, other years there have been guys like, I mean, when Michael Thomas broke the receptions record, last year when Cooper Kupp had the Triple Crown, there's guys that deserve it over the MVP, but there's also years where they've completely just voted two different guys, even though it didn't have to be.
Yeah.
But it's cool. You get to spread the wealth, recognize good players. And, I mean, unless actually, I can't even say unless, because Lamar, his season, he should have won every single award that he possibly could have.
Yeah.
But I digress. He was a unanimous vote to win the MVP, so I guess that in itself is just impressive enough.
Yeah.
But last but not least, definitely not least, we have the MVP, and it's a clear consensus here. There are some good guys that we like. We do like, as Hart pointed out on the doc, Jalen Hurts. We like Lamar Jackson. We like Patrick Mahomes. But there's one guy who's standing above the rest because he does everything for his football team. It's Josh Allen. I'm going to rattle off some stats for you guys real quick, and then I'll let you guys talk about him for a bit. Josh Allen's 5-1 with the Buffalo Bills, 67% completion percentage, first in yards with 1,980 yards, tied for first in touchdowns with Mahomes with 17 passing touchdowns, and he has a 109.1 QBR, which is in the top 5. The leader in that right now is Geno Smith, but Allen's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, especially I was just looking because I wanted to see because he has almost like a 70% completion percentage. I wanted to see because he typically throws the ball a lot, but I wanted to look it up, and he's also 5th in attempts. So like he's also slinging it and doing it very well. I don't know. I think it's also great to see a player with so much hype coming into a season and actually like this far into the season actually live up to that is awesome.
That's true.
Yeah, he started the preseason. He was the odds-on favorite to win. MVP, and I don't think he's let it up a single week.
No,
I think he's been number one in odds the whole season so far. Zach, anything to add?
He's a lot of fun to watch on the ground too.
Oh yeah, had a hurdle this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really what you'd think of when you think of the stereotypical dual threat quarterback, because usually those types of players have a shiftier running game where they're able to break out of the pocket, and their running game kind of comes more from extending plays and then being able to get downfield and making guys miss. This is a completely different thing. This guy will just run up through your chest. This is not a thing we've seen before, and he's actually pretty quick. Like, it's not like an old big body quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger. He's a big body quarterback who can move and is not afraid to hit you. He's built like a linebacker. He's bigger than actually a linebacker. How big is he? 6'6"?
I believe he's 6'4", 240.
Yeah, he's bigger. He's as big or bigger than a linebacker.
Yeah,
and he's not afraid to use it.
I mean, the only bigger linebacker than him is Tremaine Edmonds, really, and he's on his team.
Right. So, it's such a fascinating thing to see because he's breaking the stereotype of what it means to be a quarterback that is dual threat in terms of the way that he runs the ball. And it's such an aggressive, dangerous, frankly, scary way to run the football, particularly as a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree. It is kind of scary, but it's also sick.
It's sick. It's so much fun to watch.
It is. All right. Well, PFR coming at you with our 1/3 of the way through awards. I think we did a pretty good job. Most of them are consensus so far, but I mean, it's hard to deviate. We gave you guys a couple of people that we think might be in the running as well. But it is time.
Wait, I have one thing
Hark,
I wanted to interject. I looked when we because obviously we did this preseason.
Yes.
And I wanted to look and see what our picks were for some of them. And the only two awards that we pretty much like are gonna hit on, it looks like, is
defensive player and MVP.
Defensive player of the year and MVP. Yeah. And if Hutchinson wins rookie of the year, like that's like the rest of them, we didn't even, most of us don't even have those guys on our list, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall, they were in the realm of us picking them, but I thought there were some guys we could have picked over them. Offensive player of the year, I wasn't originally. I think mine was probably like Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill, maybe.
Yep. Oh, no, yours. Oh, you don't want to know yours. I don't know if you want to know your offensive player of the year.
Who was mine?
Trey Lance.
All right.
Balls to you.
Well, I'm gonna move on and pretend that never happened. Oh God. Oh jeez. All right. Well, I guess that happened. Whatever. But it's time for our last segment of the show, and it is our most competitive segment of the show, and it's our Week 7 picks. Matt will not have his picks as Hart didn't have his last 2 weeks, but we will get him to put his picks into our doc, and we'll throw them up on the Instagram and on the social medias when he gets to it. But let's get started, boys. First up on Thursday Night Football, 8:20.
Can you hear that?
Oh yeah, just drop it a couple nodules.
Good.
A couple more. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So Thursday Night Football, 8:20. We have the Saints 2-4 against the Cardinals 2-4. The Cardinals are favored at home by 1 point. Zach, who do you got this week?
I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals. I don't really know what to make of either of these teams, but more so the Saints. They had a really random game with Taysom Hill recently where he just went out of his mind. But the Cardinals, to me, are at least a little bit more consistent. You're getting D-Hop back, which is a really nice thing, and I think -1 is fair for this game. I'm going to take Arizona.
All right. Ark?
Yeah, I had originally put down New Orleans, but I think I'm switching it. I think I'm going to go with Arizona as well. I think the D-Hop addition is going to help them a little bit, and he'll probably be juiced up to play. So,
good one, Hark. That was a really good one. I think you might have done that unintentionally.
Oh, I did. I completely did that unintentionally.
That's a very, very good one. Very good one. I'm going to go with Arizona as well. I like the D-Hop ad. I don't like New Orleans, as Zach said. They've been really shaky. Next, our first Sunday game, 1 o'clock. Browns 2-4 at the Ravens 3-3. Ravens are 6.5-point favorites. Zachary?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens here. The Browns have been putting up a lot of points. Good for them. They just lost the Pats. And, I can't bet on Jacoby Brissett over Lamar Jackson at home.
Yeah, I have to agree. I took Baltimore as well. I think Lamar should be having a bounce back game, and the Browns looked really bad against the Pats this week. So
Yeah, I like Baltimore as well. I think they're going to have a good week bouncing back against the Giants game.
all righty, sounds good. Next up, next 1 o'clock game, we got the Buccaneers 3-3, 10.5-point favorites at Carolina. The Panthers 1-5. Boys,
Well, this should be a pretty
easy one.
Yeah, the Panthers are stinky cheeks, unfortunately for them, and the Buccaneers are relatively stable, even though they're 3-3.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bucs unless Brady goes to another one of his owners' weddings prior to this weekend. I think the Bucs are going to win this one.
Is he getting married this weekend?
No,
Kraft?
did you see? Yeah, no, that was this past weekend.
Robert Kraft is getting married.
No way! He got married last weekend.
Robert Kraft, the
That
dinosaur.
makes. Yeah, isn't he marrying like a 20-something or 30-something?
Yeah.
Wow, she's gonna be breaded in like 10 years. She's got a decade.
He probably signed a preen, bro. He probably signed a preen.
If he didn't, counts when he dies. Idiot. She's not gonna divorce him. He's just gonna die because he's a dinosaur, and then she's gonna be.
Yeah, then he can just do whatever in his will, right? Yeah. So Buccaneers for all the boys here. Pretty simple one. Next 1 o'clock game, Colts 3-2-1. They are 3-2-1. Against the Titans 3-2. Titans are 2.5-point favorites. I'll give it off to Zachary.
I can't trust the Colts, and also I don't like the Colts because they beat my team. But I'm only going to do that with the Seattle team.
I was going to say, if you do that with every team, you're not going to be able to pick anyone.
I'm going to be out of teams by the end of the stupid year. I'm going to take the Titans.
Yeah, I'm gonna trail Zach with the Titans here. I like Derrick Henry on a bye against an AFC South opponent. I think he could have a big game. Jonathan Taylor hasn't been 100%. Is also not expected to play again this week. It's a tough situation. Matt Ryan did have a good game last week where he threw for over 300 yards. He was the league leader in passing yards last week. But I digress. I think the Titans win this game. Hark?
I'm going to go with the Colts. Don't really have much of a reasoning. I read somewhere, which I thought was funny, is that their record is 3-2-1, that they're gonna launch off this next week and they're gonna play well and it's gonna turn their season around. So I like that.
I like that as well. Hark. That's a good one. All right, next 1 o'clock game, we got the Falcons 3-3 at the Bengals 3-3. The Bengals are 2.5-point favorites at home. Who do we got, Zachary?
I'm going to go ahead and take Cincinnati. The Falcons, that game against San Fran seems like a one-hit wonder, and the Bengals really have to figure it out, man. And if they're going to, it's got to be this team. What, do you like the music?
Yeah, Star Wars. I like it. Yeah. Hark?
Yeah, I like Cincy as well. I think that was a weird win that the Falcons had over the Niners, obviously. I think Cincy is going to put the Falcons kind of back where they should be a little bit here.
Yeah, I'd like to agree. I like the Falcons this year. They're absolutely decimating all the prior thoughts that everyone had against them. No, I don't even know if anyone thought they'd get to 3 wins. They're already there through 6 weeks. But I will be taking the Bengals this week. They are on a really good trajectory right now. I think they're 3-1 in their last. No, I don't think. I know that they're 3-1 in their last 4 games, and I really like that. They're on a really good path. Jamar Chase with 2 touchdowns last week. Next 1 o'clock game, we got the Giants 5-1 at the Jaguars 2-4. And here's an interesting one for you boys. The Jags are 3-point favorites. Jacksonville has been a very interesting place to play this season and in previous seasons. So the Jags coming down back home. Giants gonna leave the really cold this week. I mean, we're experiencing it to go to Jacksonville. Hark, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants. I mean, I have been back and forth on them this season. I've picked them a couple times, and obviously they've done pretty well. And even like last week, I think Matt was the only one that picked them, and they ended up winning. So I don't know. I think I'm going to ride with Giants until they just mess up, which this might be the week, but we'll find out.
It could be this week, but I do think I'm going to take the Giants as well. I saw them in person. They looked very impressive. Their defense looked very good. I think that Jacksonville, though the home field advantage is pretty steep, I don't know if they have a talented enough football team to win.
Well, you know what? I'm going to break away here for the first time on my own so far this pick, because I think the Giants do look good, but they also their best receiver right now ranks like 84th in total receiving.
Yeah, Richie James. He's
Richie
180
James.
receiving yards.
So it's a team that doesn't make total sense. They are playing well. The defense looks good, but I'm not sure exactly why they're 5-1. And Jacksonville has shown flashes. I feel like this game makes sense enough to be the one that the Giants lose. I feel like
that's fair. I don't fully disagree with any of your points either. Another 1:00 game we got for you guys. Lions 1-4 at the Cowboys 4-2. The Cowboys are 7-point favorites. Dak is expected to return this week at home. I'm going to go first. I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I think it's pretty obvious when we went over Micah Parsons and his game-breaking abilities. Their offenses look very good. They're catching rhythm. Tony and Zeke, the two running backs, are doing really well recently. CeeDee Lamb's coming into more CeeDee Lamb-esque season. I think it's just a perfect storm for Dallas to win. And also, Lions are kind of stinky.
Yeah, the Lions are indeed stinky. I think Dak coming back is going to help Dallas, even though Cooper Rush was playing well. I think I think Dak might be coming back a little bit of a chip just after seeing maybe some things online about Cooper Rush and his play. So hopefully he'll be playing well this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Dallas as well. I really want to take the Lions more this year, but it just hasn't been there. And Amon-Ra comes back, which is very helpful. But with Dak back and Micah playing the way he is, I just can't help myself to take Dallas.
Yeah. So all the boys are going with the Cowboys. Can't speak for Matt, but the guys on the show currently are. And our final 1:00 game, we have the Packers sitting at 3-3, our 5.5-point favorites at the Commanders, who are sitting at 2-4. I'll go first. I'd like Heineke. I think maybe he could help this team a little bit, as we were talking about, but not enough to win a football game against Aaron Rodgers. I'd like to think that after 2 consecutive losses, something that Rodgers doesn't do very often, he will bounce back and get a dub here. So I'm going to pick the Packers this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take Green Bay too. I think Taylor Heineke may give him a run for their money a little bit more than Carson Wentz might. What do you like the music still? If you're listening to this and you don't know where this is from,
go get out of your rock.
Go figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, get under a rock and watch something.
That's right. Get under a rock and watch something. That's right. Watch this. Figure it out. I'm still going to take the Packers, though. I don't think this team is built to overcome the Aaron Rodgers not losing too many games in a row here.
Yeah, I think Packers here.
All right. The boys picked Packers, and that rounds out our 1:00 first 4-5 game. We got the Jets 4-2 at the Broncos 2-4. Some reverse record we have there, and the Broncos are going to be 1.5-point favorites at home. Hark, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jets. First of all, thankfully this isn't on prime time, but I've suffered through too many Broncos primetime games now that I refuse to pick them. So I'll be going with the Jets.
Yeah, I really I kind of think that the Broncos should win this game and that this might be like a coming out party for the Broncos. Although I just have this disliking for them after I sit down super excited to watch primetime football, like the only stuff that you can watch at the time, and they blow. So I actually haven't made it through their last 2 football games. I fell asleep at halftime or put on The Sopranos. I'm going to take the Jets this week. Zach, I hope your team turns it around, man. But hey, not this week. I'm riding with Cliff.
Can you hear the music even when I'm not talking?
When you talk, it amplifies and it goes a little away when you're not talking. It's kind of
Okay.
cool.
All right, cool. So I'm going to take the Broncos. I'm not ready to give up on them yet. The first half seemed like a step forward to me. And I feel like the Jets are a team that is building and is looking very good for what they are, but I think they're gettable. And I'm going to stick my neck out for the Broncos one more time against the Jets.
Yeah, I don't dislike that whatsoever. 405 Texans 1-3-1 at the Raiders 1-4. The Raiders are 7-point dogs. Both teams coming off a bye. I'll let you two go first. Go ahead, Hark.
I took the Raiders. Don't really have much of a reasoning behind it other than the Texans stink, and I think the Raiders stink a little bit less, and they're at home.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I feel like the Raiders have kind of been knocking on the door. And while I'm afraid of Dameon Pierce, I'm not really afraid of anything else on the Texans team. So I'm more comfortable with taking Vegas.
You know,
And if you don't know where this is from, you really got to get under a rock and watch something.
all right. So I think I'm about to make like my stupidest pick of the year. I think that the Texans match up very, very well against this Raiders team. I think that Derek Stingley's been playing good, and putting him on Devontae could be a terrible mistake, or it could work really well. And if they could shut down Devontae, they're going to be able to shut down this whole offense. I also don't think that their defense is anything special. So I'm going to give a little optimism to Lovie Smith. This pick might just be stupid, but maybe a separation pick for myself. I'm going to go with the Texans.
Oh,
All right. Now we have our first 425 game. I don't want to talk, think, or look at this, but 425, Chiefs 4-2, 3-point favorites at the 49ers 3-3. I'll go first. I'm picking the Niners. Obviously, a very obvious reason. I don't know if I've ever picked against the Niners. I might have last year when they started off pretty bad, but there's really no reason. I'm picking them because they're my team, truthfully, here.
I
So,
am not picking the 49ers.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to see the unfortunate fruits of missing all your guys. You have no players. And I think the Chiefs matched up well with the Bills. They still lost, but I like them in this game. And I like
Yeah.
-3.
yeah. I like the Chiefs too. I don't see them losing another 2 games in a row. So Chiefs this
Yeah.
week.
The only thing that keeps me optimistic is I really thought this should be like a 4 or 5 point spread. And the fact that it's 3 makes me think that like Vegas thinks maybe it's going to push the other way. So that's the only optimism I have really is behind Vegas. But I digress. Last 425 game. We got the Seahawks 3-3 at the Chargers 4-2. Hark, you picked the Chiefs, right? Or did I skip over you?
Yeah, I picked the Chiefs. Yeah.
All right, good. Seahawks 3-3 at the Chargers 4-2. The Chargers are 6.5-point favorites. I'm gonna go with the Chargers this week. I think that the Seahawks have had a really good run at it, and they did beat the Cardinals this week. But the Chargers are a different animal. Keenan Allen's reportedly supposed to play this week, which is Herbert's favorite target. So I think that the Chargers is better roster, better team, better momentum. It's their game to win.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And, as always,
Never Seattle. Baby.
#never Seattle.
All right, Hark.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll also be going with the Chargers. I think Keenan Allen coming back, if he is, going to help them a ton. So look forward to that.
Absolutely. All right, we got our 2 primetime games. Sunday Night Football, 8:20. Steelers 2-4 at the Dolphins, 3-3. The Dolphins are 7-point favorites. Hark, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to be rolling with Miami. I think Tua coming back is going to help them a lot. We might see, the way that team looked the first 2-3 weeks of the season. And I think if they look that way, there's no shot Pittsburgh keeps up with them. It doesn't even matter if Pickett's playing, which is he? I doubt it, right?
He's not. He got
concussed. I don't even think it would make a difference. So I think there's no shot they keep up with Miami this week.
Yeah, Pittsburgh defense has looked pretty good in the past couple of weeks, but I think that Miami as a whole just has a better football team. And if Tua really is going to be back and we see regular Tua from what we saw, like Hark said early on in the year, there's no reason they should lose this football game. I wouldn't say that the 7-point spread looks really great, in my opinion, but also I give terrible gambling advice. So, Zachary, I see you switched over.
I did. I was thinking about the Steelers, but I don't want to do it anymore. I think you're right. The Dolphins have a better team. I think Tua, if he plays, I hope he doesn't. He's not going to be 100%. But at home, you're probably right. I think the Dolphins probably are a better pick here.
All right. Last game of the week, we have a thriller on Monday night. Monday Night Football, we got 8:15. Bears 2-4 at the Patriots 3-3. The Patriots are 8-point favorites. First, I will mention there are 6 teams on a bye this week. We have the Eagles, the Bills, the Vikings, the Rams, and actually, I apologize. I screwed that up. Sorry, fans, whoever stayed around long enough. We have 4 teams on a bye, and 3 of them are 3 of the best teams in football. Eagles, Bills, Vikings, all on bye, as well as the Rams. But back to our Monday Night Football game. Patriots, it's been their weeks the past 2 weeks. They're on a roll, 2-0 with this happening. I think New England's got a good shot at winning this football game. I could also see a huge Monday night blunder in their future, but with an 8-point spread, I think they will cover it because their offense has been potent for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think they've been really good. I'm going to take the Pats. I think they might even shut them out or come close to it.
Yeah, possible. Monday, with the way primetime football's been going lately, and the fact that these 3 football games are not looking exciting at all either, it very much could happen.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance just because especially Bears offense has been so one-dimensional. And even if they let Fields throw it around a bit, obviously Fields is not a rookie, but Belichick typically does very well against young quarterbacks, and I don't see them having any success offensively. Maybe they'll be able to. Maybe there's been enough film on Bailey Zappi now that they might be able to stop him, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're right. I really like -8, and I'm taking the Pats.
All right. Gentlemen, that rounds out our picks for the evening. Thank you very much to anybody that stuck through the hour and a half with the boys. We had a good time talking football, and we'll see you all next week. Hopefully, Mr. McGrath will be back and brings his McGrath posse with him. I had a great time doing this. It's always fun hanging out with some of my best friends talking football. So, my final message to you all before I let these two give theirs. Watch some football this weekend and try to get outside before it gets a little too cold.
My message is it's New Haven Restaurant Week. So if you live in the area, they're doing prefix price menus, deals, try some nice restaurants, get yourself out there. It ends sometime late next week. So the clock is ticking.
Sweet.
29th. I think it's the 29th.
Good to know.
All right, next Friday, I think that is Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's good 2 weeks. Nice.
Hark. My final thoughts is
Adama Sanogo is the preseason player of the year.
He is pretty exciting. I think mine has to be is Bama football dead? I'm just gonna leave that with all of you guys.
Is it dead?
It's as dead as a newborn child, Hark.
But yeah, what a win for the Vols this week.
I can talk about that for a second. That's like really, really impressive. Nick Saban is not an easy man to beat, and then to like actually kind of embarrass him is even more impressive. So
yeah, that's gonna be an interesting end of the year now in the SEC.
Three top 6 teams, right? Because Bama moved down to 6. 3 top 6 teams.
Yeah, it's nuts. So I'm excited the way that season's gonna end out because I feel like it's a little bit more parity this year than we've seen in college football. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, this has been Phire Football Radio. Thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your night. and great rest of your week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.